Hello, I'm Edward Tarte, atheist. As I described in a recent video, 2 weeks ago I wrote a letter to the editor of our local newspaper, responding to a letter in which the writer described hell as a manifestation of her God's kindness. The editor printed my letter. Yesterday, in response to a long letter denouncing atheists, I wrote another letter to the editor. That letter denouncing atheists had the headline, AtheistGames. With some paraphrasing, here is some of what that letter said. The God of Abraham is the only God. Only Scripture can answer, where does evil come from? How was the universe created? How did life begin? Atheists need to prove there is no God, but they cannot prove that. Atheists have no foundation for ethics, no free will, no ultimate meaning to their lives, nothing but chaos. Nobody can live that way. Atheists, accept Jesus for your salvation. In a moment I will read my letter in response. I tried to cram as much meaning as possible in under 300 words, as advised by the editor, to maximize my letter's chances for publication. Here is my letter in 2 parts, and for you I will elaborate on each part. Dear editor, this is a response to 2 points in Bill Freeman's letter, AtheistGames. Once a priest, I'm now an atheist, meaning I find no credible evidence for any God's existence. I think Mr. Freeman and I have much in common. Due to lack of evidence, I don't believe in Thor, Mithras, Poseidon, Ra, Baal, Jupiter, Allah, Yahweh, or any other God. Toward each God, I'm an atheist. Since Mr. Freeman stated the God of Abraham is the only God, I infer he's an atheist toward these other gods. If he and I would get together and make a list of our atheist gods, his list would contain, say, 200 gods. Mine would contain 201 gods. We would both probably base our lists on lack of evidence. If a Thor believer wants him and me to accept Thor, the burden of proof is on the Thor believer to furnish solid evidence that Thor exists. Likewise, if Mr. Freeman wants me to accept his God, the burden of proof is on him to furnish solid evidence that his God exists. Now, to elaborate a bit, I fervently want religious believers in my community to understand that we are all atheists, and for the same reason, lack of evidence. It is just that my atheism extends to one God more than their atheism. Strictly speaking, they and I cannot absolutely prove that the god Thor does not exist. But we can reasonably deny Thor's existence until a Thor believer, or Thor himself, gives us big, strong, persuasive evidence for the huge claim that Thor exists. The burden of proof is not on us. It is on the Thor believer or on Thor himself. In the same way, I, as an atheist, hold believers in the God of Abraham to the same standard to which they and I hold Thor believers. That is, strictly speaking, I cannot prove absolutely that their God does not exist. But if they want me to accept the huge assertion that the God of Abraham does exist and is the only God, then they, or their God himself, need to give me huge, solid, persuasive evidence. And the burden of proof is not on us atheists. It is on the believers, or on their God himself. Now I will read to you the second part of my letter. My other point concerns my atheist life, since Mr. Freeman says atheists lack free will, purpose, good morals. I write this of my own free will. My life has purpose according to what I make of it. I am a philanthropist striving to relieve human suffering. I have taught math for 42 years. I have a good moral compass without any God. I do what's right because it's right. I refrain from doing what's wrong because it's wrong. I am lucky to be alive. With no afterlife, I treasure each day I have left. I discuss all this on YouTube with 2,800 subscribers. Thank you for reading this. Signed, Edward Tarte. So I want fervently for believers in my community to understand that we atheists make free will decisions daily just as believers do, that we give purpose to our lives, that there is nothing about atheism to keep us from being good, loving, caring, morally upright people, and that anticipating no afterlife enhances the value of each single day that we have here in this, the only life we have. My atheist life is not chaotic, nor purposeless, nor barren. I fervently hope that my letter will be printed. I fervently hope that a bunch of believers in my community will start watching my YouTube videos. I fervently hope that the editor will print this letter of mine. If I were a believer, I would be fervently praying for that. Well, I've done my part. Now the rest is in the hands of God? No. It is in the hands of the editor. Thank you for watching this video.